Hello, welcome to Music Like Never Before. We'll be covering everything related to music right here on this channel. Be it be music theory, be it be music production, mixing, mastering, composition, songwriting, song arrangement, or music business. Everything would be covered right here on this channel, which is Music Like Never Before, because we present before you music like never before. Also, all the PDFs related to the topic which we will be studying or which we will be covering would be available in the description box, so you can download that and follow along with the video. So without much further ado, let's go on to the first topic, or the topic for today, which is music theory has been lying to you. So basically the problem has been, if you can look over here, let's start from the basic scale, because that is like the basic of music. Let's talk about the C major scale. And the reason why C major scale has been taught so much, or has been taught first, is because that it doesn't have any accidentals, which we'll be covering about that later on. But if you see over here, these are just normal letter names. That is the reason C major has been popular, and that is the sole reason that people study C major, but then they get lost as they go on onto a different scale. So for example, if we look at this scale of C major, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and let's talk about another major scale. So when we talk about major scale, it has the same distance, same patterns, but just the letter names, they differ. Now if we come to the next scale, which is G major, if you look now the note names are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now the problem is that F, which we learnt about in C major scale, that turned into an F sharp, and this is where the complexity rises, because now you have to what happens is, when I also was a kid, learning C major scale was the easiest, right? But the moment I went to a G major scale or the scales after that, different letters started coming up, and that is when it started becoming a little tough. And if you move on now, let's go on to the D major scale. The scale of D major also now has F sharp, also a C sharp, and if you just keep on going, the problem keeps on increasing. So now what happens is, even though the major scale is one set of formula, for example, I'll tell you something. When I was a kid, and I think that every one of you also would have experienced that, when you would have been learning tables, right? The problem was that we just used to memorize the tables. That is the reason, till the table of 10 it was fine, but the moment big tables started coming in, which was 11, 12 or 13, that is when it started becoming a problem, right? And how that problem got solved was that once we started understanding tricks and tips, that is when those tables started becoming easy, right? That is the same thing with music. Since our childhood, we have just been learning major scale as letter names. That is the reason mostly 90% of the people who have started learning music, they have stopped in between, because then if you're learning scale of C major and then you're learning scale of G major, you have to memorize all those letter names, and that is why that has been the number one problem. Same thing going on to A, going on to E, the number of sharps or the number of flats, they keep on increasing, right? So when you see over here, when you were learning a C major scale, it was the easiest, but as you moved on to the next scale, it started becoming tougher and tougher and tougher, right? So this is the place where everyone stops. Now the question is that, Alan, what is the solution to this, right? Okay, the solution to this is, I'll tell you about something. I don't know if you would have heard, the most number of hit songs which have ever come out of a place has been from Nashville, Tennessee, and that's there in United States of America. Reason being why, so the problem was how classical music, or how music teachers have always taught us, is the classical way of reading music, right? But what the problem was, that every day in Nashville there were 5 to 6 songs being recorded on a daily basis, right? So the musicians at that period of time, the problem which they were facing was that they had to like memorize all the songs, and then it was a little hard, right? So now what they did was, instead of going the classical route, they developed a system which is called the Nashville number system. Now what they did was, instead of memorizing letter names, what they did was they gave number to every note in the scale. So for example, if you take the scale of C major, right, the number would be C would be 1, D would be 2, E would be 3, F would be 4, G would be 5, A would be 6, and B would be 7, right? Now instead of memorizing the letter names, it was easier this way. Now so I'll just play the note, what it means. This is number 1, right? This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. This is number 5. This is number 6. And this is number 7. So now if you even change the scale, now we are in the scale of G major. 3, now 4, now 5, now 6, now 7. Now basically what has happened is the scale has changed, but the numbers haven't. And the reason that numbers haven't, the relationship also hasn't changed. So every number has something of significance. So for example, let's talk about 1 right now. So when you say 1, this is called the tonic or the home. It's called tonic or the home. It basically means that whenever you'll play this note or whenever you'll play this chord, it feels like as if you're in home. It feels like okay, so let's talk about the journey. It feels like you're woken up and you're just relaxing in your chair. There's nothing to think about. And that is what 1 means. So whenever anyone says that play 1, this is what your brain should go, that okay, this is a relaxing feeling, right? So whenever you feel inside a song that okay, now I feel relaxed, I feel it feels like home, that is when you play 1, right? Okay, now coming to, so there are 3 kinds of functions. 1 is your home, 2nd is your movement, and 3rd is your tension, right? So now, okay, now let me try to explain this in a format where it's easier. Okay, so let's talk about home. Home is something where you feel relaxed, where you feel that it's comfortable. And then talking about movement. Okay, so basically we can't just stay at home, right? It's a great feeling to be, but if you'll just be at home, it can be monotonous. It can be a little boring. People can think like, why are you at home always, right? So what they do is they tell you to go somewhere. Like for example, if you are a kid, they will tell you to go to school, first of all. I don't know why that was not coming up. They'll tell you to go to school. Then what they'll do is they'll tell you to go to some activity, to learn music, to learn dancing, right? Why? Because movement is also very important, right? That is a very, very important part in lives, and that is how you can understand the meaning of number 4. So 4 is movement. Okay, now coming on to the next family or the next topic, which is tension. Now for example, once you go to the school, right, I like, if you are like me, you wouldn't have enjoyed your school, because school has been a place where it was too tough to understand things, right? So that was where tension was involved. So whenever you say 5, you should always remember the feeling tension. You want to go back home, right? So basically now what do you do? Like if you are in tension, then you want to go back to home, right? That is why how chord progressions came into place. So for example, like the most important or the most common or the most popular chord progression of all times has been 1, 5, 6, 4. It's not just a progression. Instead of learning C, G, A minor, F, it's better to learn your numbers and then you can apply to any key. Reason being, once you understand the relationship between the chords or between the notes, it's very easier for you to navigate. Let's break down the most common chord progression, right? 1, 5, 6, 4. Now what happens is you're starting from home. You're starting from home, right? And from 1, you went to tension. So now you directly went to your office, and when you're at office, all you can do is that you want some sort of comfort, right? So then after 5, what you did, you went to a 6 minor. I'll explain everything right now. I'm just trying to explain the relationship between chords. So once you went to 6 minor, It is your emotional home. What do I mean by that? Emotional home is like, for example, you know that from home you went to your office. From your office, you went to like a place where you can have chai, because that is where you can feel a bit relaxed, right? And once after chai, you took chai, and then you went to four, which is so it's like you completed your work and then you went to have your chai and then you decided to go back home. So now movement and then that cycle repeats. So this is how number system works. So basically, in a nutshell, the number system just tells you that instead of memorizing the letter names, because letter names get tough, because as the scales keep on progressing, the number of sharps or the number of flats start increasing, and if you have to memorize all of those notes, it becomes a little tougher. At least it has been for me. And since I have started accepting, or since I've started applying the number system, it has been easier for me. So again, trying to make you understand, numbers would always stay the same. The function of the numbers would always stay the same, be it be your C major scale, same thing, be it be your G major scale, again the numbers would be the same, the relationship would be the same. Same thing goes for D major, same thing goes for A major, E major, F major, B flat major. And if you notice, the sound will also be the same. Let's go to C major. 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Change the scale. It's the same thing. So basically, now when you are learning music, try to focus on the number system rather than the letter names. Okay. So this is what I was talking about, right? Everything inside a major scale, so there's a formula. I'll just give it to you. Don't just memorize it, okay? I'll explain later on what that means. The first chord would be, it would be major, right? Second would be minor. So it's basically major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Okay. So the first chord, it's called home. What is it called? It's called home, or the tonic. Okay. Second is the minor chord. It's called supertonic. Now, when you move to this chord, it feels that you're longing for something. Okay. And there's less tension. And then there comes the 3 minor chord, which is called the median. So now it has warmth in it. The fourth one, this is what belongs to the movement family, right? Then you move on to dominant tension, right? Now this chord wants to come back to the 1. Reason being why? Because it has the most amount of tension, right? And after tension, you always want to go back to home. Okay, then there's your 6 median, and then there's your leading note. Don't worry, I know you have a lot of doubts on that. How did you make these chords and all? I will make you understand this, but my reason for doing this video is that instead of learning your letter names, just try to understand the number system, try to give every note a number, and then try to understand the relationship it has between notes. So for example, if you'll just play C, right, that doesn't make any sense. But if you're playing a C major scale, when you play G, when do you play A minor, that is what matters. And in order to understand how that works, I think it's important for you to understand the numbering system, because numbering system makes you understand the relationship between the notes, and everything is just relationships. Moving on. Okay. See, this is your C major scale, right? D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C, right? And then there's G. Now there are numbers also written. Sorry, 1. And same thing, the sound is the same, the distance is the same, the pattern is the same. It's just that with every scale, you are introducing some amount of sharps and some amount of flats. And if you try to remember those, it will be a little hard for you. So rather, it would be easier for you to write down your major scales. I will give you the detailed PDF where every scale would be written, all the sharps with all the flats, and I'll explain it to you also, that why did we add those sharps or why did we add those flats, right? But what you have to do is memorize your scales and attach a number to it. So for example, if I tell you to play in the key of C major, right? If I tell you to play in the key of C major, then you should just know that okay, C is my 1, G is my 5, A is my 6, F is my 4, right? Same thing goes with your D also. Your If we are playing in the scale of D major, then you should know that okay, D is 1, A is 5, G is 4, and B is 6, right? So this is what you should know. Okay, also talking about Nashville number system, or the why did they do what they did was because they had to record 5 to 6 songs in a day, right? What they did was a lot of times when the singers or when the instrumentalists used to come, they used to change the key of the song. When I say change the key of the song, what I mean by that is, like for example, like if you are a musician, right? You have learned all the chords in C major, right? And just imagine you go to the studio and next day the singer comes to you and he's like, bro, can we just take it half step higher? Now that scale is C sharp major, right? Now suddenly you have all the sharps in the world. You have all 7 sharps, which is C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, right? So now your practice would just go in vain, right? So now what they did, how they designed the chart was that instead of like what they did was that they just gave the number system, and even though you change the key, the function would have remained the same, right? So that is the reason why Nashville number system has been such a advantage to all the musicians, and that is how the Nashville music industry has grown to such a tremendous level. In India, we still have problems with how music has been taught. So what happens over here is a lot of people whom I have taught, they just know their chord names. So I will tell them, okay, now play a B minor, now play a G major, and that is the reason why that most of the people have been playing it wrong, because the way of teaching has not been, I'll not say wrong, but it has not been to the point what people need. Because in today's time, like the need of a session musician is to learn so many songs at once, right? If you'll just learn the songs the old classical way or with the help of a sheet, it would be a little hard for you. So it's better that you understand this system so that it helps you navigate all the keys. Okay, so let's take the talk about something called transposition. Now, when I say transposition, it basically means that changing the key of the song. Now, what happens is every singer has a different kind of vocal range, right? So, for example, if you prepared a song in a certain arrangement and if you want a certain kind of singer to come in, you'll have to change the key of the song according to how his throat responds or how the song sounds in a particular key, right? So what happens is, let's take about progressions. The numbers, they always stay the same. Why am I emphasizing on this is because it always stays the same and it always has to stay the same, right? So let's talk about the key of C. 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, let's talk about 1 is home, 5 is tension, we can call this 6 shadow or emotional home, 4 we can call movement or warmth. Okay, now let's talk about letter names in key of C. Now letter names will keep on changing. C is 1, G is 5, A minor is 6, F is 4, right? Again, coming to the key of G, if you notice, we haven't changed the numbers yet. Actually, we'll never change the numbers. Now, coming on to the key of G major. G is 1. Now, G, which was 5 in the key of C, now it's 1 now in the key of G, right? See how, like, the relationships change, and relationships in music is what matters. Your 5 is D, then your 6 is E minor, and then your 4 is C. Same thing, numbers stay the same. D. D is 1, A is 5, B minor is 6, G is 4. Coming on to A. A is 1, E is 5, F sharp minor is 6, and D is 4. Then E is 1, then B is 5, then C sharp minor is 6, A is your 4. And this just goes on and on to all the 12 major keys. So now what you need to do is that write down all the scales and try to give them a number. and then try to associate it with the number. Okay, now talking about famous songs decoded into numbers. So now the problem was that whenever I also used to learn songs, right, I used to write, and I think that 90% of the people would have done this. That let's say I'm learning a song, it's called Let It Be by the Beatles, right? I used to write Let It Be chords, and it used to show me C, G, A minor, F, and then I used to learn the shape of that chord on my guitar, right? But the problem was that, for example, the original singer has sung in a particular key, right? Then for me to sing in that key used to be tough. And also the problem was that then you'll have to apply capo to instruments, right? But the problem is that then that kills your musicality in the sense that you don't know how to play it in every key, right? But now when I was growing older, as I learned about the number system, let's talk about the number system. Let it be, the chords are 1, 5, 6 minor, 4. And this is the progression which goes on throughout the song. It changes a bit, but this is mostly the progression of the song. Now you just need to know this progression. Rather, like let's say if you are playing it in the key of C, it would be C, G, A minor, F. But if you play it in the key of E, D, then you'll have to learn the letter names, right? It's better that you learn your numbers so that it'll be easier for you to apply it in any key. Let's talk about Amazing Grace. Great song, right? Now the numbers are 1, 4, 1, 5. Now this is the major progression which has been going in the song. Same thing goes for Lean on Me. Same thing goes for No Woman No Cry. And I can make a list of songs decoded into numbers. And what I feel is that what people do is they try to learn songs by chord names. That is why you have a limited set of songs. But if you see people who have learned Nashville system in church, Nashville number system is a very big thing. Like it's a very popular thing, and everyone plays by numbers, and that is the reason church musicians, they know like thousands of songs. When I say thousands of songs, I'm not joking. They actually know thousands of songs because now they don't have to remember it by sheet, right? It's about understanding music. So once you understand your Nashville number system, it becomes easier for you to actually apply it to music. Thank you so much for staying till the end. It really means a lot to me. All the detailed PDFs would be available in the description box below. You can download right there. It's completely free. Also, I've made a system for music to understand, and the name of the system is Music Like Never Before. It really makes you understand music in a way that I wish I would have had when I was a kid. So level 0 to level 5 books are available, and also my one-on-one sessions are also available. You can book it right in the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so that next time when you get a notification, you can just watch it. I'll be coming with a lot of content based on music, and I'll try to cover everything. You can write in on the comment boxes that what do you need, or which is one area where you've been struggling. Till then, sayonara, bye bye, take care, see you guys.